And for more on this, we are now being joined by Harsh V. Pant from New Delhi. He is the Vice President of Studies and Foreign Policy at Observer Research Foundation. Harsh, welcome to the program. What will be the impact and significance of Russia attending or joining the SCO meeting?
Well, I think at a time when there are huge concerns about developing bonds between Russia and China, this will be one of the most senior level visits to India. And I think India would be looking for a degree of transparency in how Russia views its relationship with China and how it wants to balance those ties with India, which have very precarious relations with China. So bilaterally, and that is what a lot of Indian interlocutors will be looking at. But I think this visit is primarily also about SCO, which is which has been a very important platform in India's regional diplomacy, because India is not simply an Indo-Pacific or a maritime power. It is also a Eurasian. It has a strong interest in the Eurasian context. And Central Asia is such a pivotal player in how India looks at its regional security. So how India and Russia can work together with the SCO members to ensure that vital regional interests are protected, preserved, whether it relates to terrorism, extremism, radicalization, or Afghanistan. I think all those issues will be on the table.
Harsh, for the benefit of our viewers, what is the significance or importance of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the SCO?
Shanghai Cooperation Organization is, as you were pointing out earlier, is an intergovernmental organization that had been part of the Central Asian landscape for a very long time, since 2001. And it has gradually become more important as the Eurasian landscape has changed, as a lot of threats that come out of Central Asia, in particular, what we have seen in the last few years emanating from Afghanistan, have become central to how India and other regional players view their security. So therefore, what happens in Central Asia has bearing on all the neighboring states. And I think India has been keeping a very close eye on that part of the world, and India has strong traditional civilizational ties with Central Asia. So India wants to preserve those ties. India wants to enhance those ties. And via SCO, via Shanghai Cooperation Organization, it wants to ensure that there is stability in the region, so that a lot of the tendencies that have been traditionally associated with the region, like extremism or terrorism, can be tackled in a transgovernmental manner, in a transnational manner, which I think is the scope of SCO. And SCO was formed primarily to look at regional security threats and how governments can cooperate to tackle those threats. So India has been investing a lot of its energies in the SCO, and India is a very vital member, views itself as a vital member. And of course, its relationship with Russia, with Central Asian members, has been key to its own strategic imagination up in the north. So therefore, in particular, after the American troops withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2 years back, we have seen great degree of activity, because ultimately now it falls on Central Asia, it falls on countries like India to manage the negative externalities that are emerging out of the Western countries withdrawing from Afghanistan. So I think for all these issues, SCO is very vital for India and for all the Central Asian countries, including, of course, Russia, which views itself views Central Asia as part of its immediate periphery. So I think all these issues make SCO very vital. All these issues make Central Asia pivotal to the way a balance of power will perhaps emerge in Eurasia.
Harsh, finally, today's meeting will be a build-up to the Defense and Foreign Ministers Summit of the SCO grouping in April and May. What should we expect as a precursor to those crucial forums?
I think what we should expect is that we will see a lot of activity around how do you manage, Afghanistan post the withdrawal of American troops. And I think there is a lot of consensus in the region. And there is, in particular, when you look at the National Security Advisor level engagement, right after the American troops withdrew from Afghanistan in 2021, there has been a great degree of activity at the National Security Advisor level in terms of intelligence sharing, in terms of coming together to assess the regional security environment. So I think a lot of this activity will be now put formally on the agenda. But also, I think from SCO's perspective, that region should remain stable, and therefore a lot of engagements as you look towards defense ministers' engagement and foreign ministers' engagement in terms of how the stability can be preserved, whether it is in terms of terrorism, extremism, or whether in terms of narco issues, drug drug trafficking, human trafficking issues that have been perennial problems in the region. So I think as you look at the regional landscape, it is changing very rapidly. And of course, the interest of major powers in that part of the world is also increasing. So how do you manage to ensure that as great powers intrude into Central Asia once again, as a new great game is played in that part of the world once again, regional stability remains at the heart of everyone's agenda. So what we will see is perhaps laying out a roadmap for how that can be, how that roadmap can be implemented, which perhaps is going to be the issue for the foreign ministers and defense ministers. So laying out of that agenda will be crucial, and this is the meeting that will lay out that agenda for future meetings.
Right. Thank you very much. I've been talking to the Vice President of Studies and Foreign Policy at Observer Research Foundation, live from New Delhi, Harsh V. Pant. Harsh, thank you very much for talking to WION World is One today.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.